On my first day as the wicked stepmother in the book, my stepson Ji-Hung stood by my bed with a bowl of pitch-black medicinal soup, his eyes dark and menacing, his voice as cold as ice. "Mother, you're sick, drink the medicine." Seeing the eerie steam rising from the soup and his eyes, filled with murderous intent, which seemed far too old for a 10-year-old, I instantly understood this was the first time, according to the original character's memories, that the main antagonist Ji-Hung tried to poison me, the cruel stepmother who had tormented him since marrying into the family just 3 days prior in the book. I didn't drink it. Instead, I screamed, smashed the bowl on his head, and then called the servants to hang him up and beat him mercilessly, thus forging an unbreakable blood feud. But now, as I looked at him, I suddenly smiled. I propped up my weak body to sit up, waved at him, and said in the gentlest voice, "Hunger, come here. Do you think that by killing me, then killing your foolish father, seizing the Ji family's assets, and raising an army to rebel, you can avenge yourself and ascend to the throne?" Ji-Hung's pupils constricted, and his hand holding the bowl jerked violently. I pulled him to the bedside, took the medicine bowl and set it aside, then fished out a small booklet I had stayed up all night writing with a brush, its handwriting crooked and uneven, and stuffed it into his hands. On the cover of the booklet, 7 large characters were prominently written on the imperial examinations and corruption. I patted his little head and spoke earnestly. "Silly child, rebellion is the highest risk, lowest reward business. Listen to your mother. Let's not rebel anymore. Let's go take the imperial exams, become a powerful official, and then become a great corrupt official. Wouldn't that be wonderful?" Ji-Hung held the thin booklet, his entire body frozen stiff, as if what he held in his hands wasn't paper but a red-hot branding iron. On his small face, pale from long-term malnutrition, a pair of pitch-black eyes stared fixedly at me, filled with shock, suspicion, and a hint of fear at having all his secrets seen through. "What are you talking nonsense about?" His voice was hoarse, carrying the unique roughness of a young man, yet he pretended to be composed. I smiled and ignored his stubbornness. I knew what was going on in this child's mind. He is the orphaned descendant of the former crown prince. The Ji family adopted him merely as a political show by the current emperor to demonstrate his benevolence. His father, Ji Xiuming, the head of the Ji family, is a useless fool who only cares about romantic pursuits and obeys every word of me, his newly married stepmother. As for the original host, she is the illegitimate daughter of the current grand preceptor, married off to monitor and torment him, ensuring he never rises to prominence in the story. Ji-Hung endures years of humiliation in the Ji family, ultimately killing Ji Xiuming and me upon coming of age. He then uses the treasure left behind by the former dynasty's loyalists to raise an army and rebel, becoming the greatest villain in the book, only to be pierced through the heart by an arrow from the protagonist, the noble and upright young general. How pitiful! With brains, perseverance, connections, and the first pot of gold, he ended up choosing the hardest path. I feel it's not worth it for him. Whether I'm talking nonsense or not, you know it in your heart. I leaned against the headboard and spoke slowly. The path of rebellion sounds impressive, but in reality, it's a life-and-death gamble. If you win, you rule the world. But is that throne so easy to sit on? Beneath it are nothing but wolves waiting to pounce. If you lose, it's the extermination of your entire clan. Not even a tombstone left behind. I extended a finger and tapped the booklet in his hand. But taking the imperial exams is different. My voice was filled with a persuasive magic. Like the most skilled pyramid scheme lecturer. Think about it. You've endured years of hardship studying, achieved success in the imperial examinations, and entered the officialdom. From then on, the sky is high enough for birds to fly freely, and the sea is wide enough for fish to leap boundlessly. If you want revenge, do you need to wield the knife yourself? No, the pen is far more effective than the blade. Those you dislike, just submit a memorial to impeach them, and they'll lose their positions, be stripped of their titles, have their homes confiscated, and be exiled. Want money? Even simpler. Once you become an official and hold power, even a clean magistrate can amass a fortune of 100,000 taels of silver in 3 years. Have you ever seen any rebel leader live as comfortably as the chief minister of the court? Ji Heng's breathing noticeably quickened, his knuckles turning white as he gripped the booklet. I knew my words were like a key, slowly prying open the door to his heart that had been sealed shut by hatred. But the imperial examinations test the words of the sages, requiring loyalty to the ruler and love for the country. He struggled and voiced his final doubt. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Silly child, how can you be so naive? What is said with the mouth and what is thought in the heart, can they really be the same thing? When writing essays, you praise the ruler as if he were a blooming flower, making him so delighted that he grants you high positions and generous salaries. Once you become an official and power is in your hands, whether you are loyal or treacherous isn't that entirely up to you. I leaned closer to him, lowering my voice and speaking word by word. True power is not about making others fear your blade, but about making them beg for your pen. It's about manipulating the rules, forcing your enemies into a corner step by step, following the game rules you've set. This is what we call a bloodless, yet deadly, strategy. I pointed to the book on the imperial examination and corruption and concluded, open it and take a look. The first chapter, on the self-cultivation of corrupt officials. Mother has prepared only the essentials for you. Ji Heng's body trembled slightly. He looked down at the booklet that had turned his worldview upside down, then back at me. The killing intent in his eyes had faded, replaced by a complex mix of confusion, shock, and a strange curiosity. After a long while, he clenched the booklet tightly, turned around, and left, forgetting even the poisoned bowl. I know, the fish has taken the bait too. For the next few days, Ji Heng locked himself in his room, refusing to see anyone. I was glad for the peace and started to get familiar with my new identity. The original owner was named Liu Hanyang, a concubine's daughter from the Grand Tutor's estate, not very bright but with a vicious heart. My husband, Ji Xiuming, who I married for convenience, is a frivolous playboy who pretends to be refined all day long. He either writes poems or paints, completely neglecting household affairs. This vast Ji family is managed by the matriarch, an old woman who is both harsh and greedy for money. The external businesses and estates are controlled by several distant uncles and cousins, who claim annual losses. The entire Ji family is just an empty shell, hollowed out from within. In the original story, Ji Heng, in such an environment, managed to carve out a path for himself through sheer ruthlessness and the support of his former subordinates from the previous dynasty. Now that I'm here, his path should take a different turn. 3 days later, Ji Heng finally stepped out of his room. He looked even thinner, with heavy dark circles under his eyes, but those eyes were astonishingly bright. Like a lone wolf that had found its direction in the darkness, he walked up to me, not bowing, just staring straight at me, the booklet in his hand already worn with frayed edges from being thumbed through. You were right, he spoke, his voice still hoarse, yet carrying a resolve that didn't match his age. Rebellion is the worst option. I nodded with satisfaction. You've come to understand. I've made up my mind. He took a deep breath. I'm going to take the imperial examinations. Okay, I snapped my fingers. From today onwards, your education will be personally overseen by me. When Ji Xiuming heard that I was going to personally tutor Ji Heng, he was so shocked that he almost knocked over the inkstone in his hand. Madam, how can this be done? Heng is mischievous. It would be better to hire a strict tutor. I glanced at him sideways. Does the master not trust me? Ji Xiuming immediately backed down. No, madam, you are absolutely right. I couldn't be bothered to waste words with him and directly started Heng's devil training. For the first lesson, I didn't teach him the **** or ***. Instead, I took him to the accounting office in the southern part of the city. There, Ji Shoda, the second uncle from the collateral branch of the Ji family, was tallying this year's harvest from the fields under his name. When Ji Shoda saw me bringing Ji Heng along, he greeted us with a forced smile. Oh, sister-in-law, what brings you to this filthy place? I came to see how this year's harvest is going, second uncle. I got straight to the point. Ji Shoda immediately started complaining about his poverty. Oh, sister-in-law, don't even mention it. This year has been plagued by natural disasters and man-made troubles, the fields yielded nothing, and I even had to cover a lot of the expenses myself. I smiled without saying a word, simply gesturing for Ji Yu-hung to take a look at the account book. Ji Yu-hung frowned, flipped through a few pages, and whispered to me, "The accounts don't seem to show any issues, is that so?" I walked over to the account book, casually flipped to a page, and pointed at a number on it. "Uncle, I remember that our family's paddy field in the west of the city yielded 3 dan per mu last year. This year, with favorable weather conditions, why does the account book only record 2 dan? Ji Yu-shoda's eyelid twitched, and he forced a smile. This might be due to the tenants being lazy." Oh, I flipped another page. Then, "This fire loss silver for the government, why is it 30% higher than last year's market price? I heard that the newly appointed prefect is the most honest and strictly forbids anyone below him from overcharging for fire loss." Cold sweat started to form on Ji Yu-shoda's forehead. I continued, "And this expenditure for repairing the water channels, this bonus for the long-term workers, this, uncle, your ledger is really clean indeed." Each time I spoke, Ji Yu-shoda's face turned paler. Ji Yu-hung, standing to the side, widened his eyes more and more. He had never imagined that a seemingly ordinary ledger would contain so many irregularities. Finally, Ji Yu-shoda couldn't take it anymore and fell to his knees with a thud. "Sister-in-law, I was wrong, I won't dare to do it again." I ignored him and just turned to look at Ji Yu-hung, asking, "Understand it now?" Ji Yu-hung nodded blankly. I patted his shoulder and began the first lesson of today. "Hunger, remember, the writings of the sages are the stepping stones to your success in the civil service examinations, but these are the real skills you'll need to survive in the officialdom. A single number can bring ruin to a family, a document can change the ownership of a piece of land. This is the power of the pen. Your Uncle Er's method is the most inferior form of greed, full of flaws. Real masters can make the fake seem real, leaving no trace for you to investigate. This discipline is called accounting. Oh no, it's called the art of checks and balances." I looked at Ji Yu-hung's increasingly bright eyes and smiled contentedly. "Child, welcome to the real world of power." 3. Having dealt with Ji Yu-shoda, I followed the trail and gave a warning to several collateral branches that controlled the Ji Yu family's businesses. The process was simple. I had Ji Yu-hung take all the account books and go through them entry by entry. He was very clever, able to draw inferences from one example, and quickly transformed from a complete novice into a skilled auditor. The fraudulent accounts created by those uncles and elders could not escape his scrutiny. I didn't drive them to ruin, I simply made them return all the embezzled silver from over the years, along with interest, and then took back the management rights of the businesses into my own hands. Madame Ji Yu was so furious that she fell ill and lay in bed, pointing at me and calling me a calamity. I had her courtyard gates locked by the servants, providing her with plain porridge and simple dishes 3 times a day, all in the name of praying for the old madame's well-being, requiring a pure heart and abstinence. Ji Yu-shoming watched my swift and decisive actions in fear, barely daring to speak, and spent his days hiding in the study, pretending he didn't exist. In just half a month, the entire Ji Yu household was completely under my control. On this day, I slapped a thick stack of banknotes down in front of Ji Yu-hung. "These are the collected funds, a portion I used to grease the wheels of relationships, to hire the best teachers for you, to buy the most precious books. The rest is your operating budget." Ji Yu-hung looked at the pile of banknotes, his expression complicated. "What do you want me to do?" "It's simple." I took out a piece of paper with a list I had prepared. "Go make connections with these people." On the list were the most prestigious gentry in the city, low-ranking but influential clerks in the government, and even the most popular courtesan in the brothel. Being an official isn't just about being well-read. Connections are your weapons. I taught him, with the gentry, be courteous and humble, make them believe you have a bright future and are worth investing in. With the clerks, offer small favors, and in crucial moments, they can provide you with unexpected information. As for the courtesan, I paused, looking at Ji Yu-hung's slightly red ears, and smiled. "Don't overthink it, that's where the most up-to-date information can be found. People from all walks of life, princes, and nobles. When they drink too much, they'll spill all kinds of secrets. What you need to learn is to sift through this chaotic information and find what's useful to you. This is called intelligence analysis. Ji Hung held the list in his hand, remaining silent for a long time. I knew that for him, this was yet another reshaping of his worldview from a young age. He was taught that a gentleman should not stand under a dangerous wall and must draw a clear line with petty people. Yet what I taught him was how to dance with petty people and even make use of them. Go ahead, I encouraged him. Don't be afraid, you are meant to be a powerful minister, not a saint. Water that is too clear has no fish, a person who is too discerning has no followers. The truly remarkable are those who can bloom the most beautiful flowers in the mud. Ji Hung left, he began, following my guidance, clumsily yet resolutely, weaving the first network of relationships in his life. He was no longer the gloomy youth who only knew how to hide in the shadows, feeding himself on hatred. He started learning to smile at people, to speak diplomatically, and to exchange toasts at the dinner table. I watched his transformation with my own eyes, and joy filled my heart. I hired the best teachers in the city for him, teaching him classics, history, poetry, and literature. By day, he was a diligent and studious young gentleman. At night, when he returned to me, I began my lessons in the art of the emperor's mind and the thick black theory. I taught him that the core of royal strategy lies in the methods of power as expounded by Han Fizi, how a ruler manages his subjects, balances various factions, and ensures that his subordinates both respect and fear him while still willing to give their lives for him. I told him about the historical power brokers, such as Li Sai and Zhao Jiao, and how they climbed to their positions step by step, only to meet their demise and the destruction of their families due to a single misstep. You should learn their methods, but avoid their endings. I looked at him, my expression serious. Hunger, remember, power is the best aphrodisiac and the deadliest poison. Never be seduced by power itself. Always keep in mind that you wield power to achieve your goals. What is my purpose then? He asked me back, his eyes carrying a hint of confusion. Your purpose, I smiled, is naturally to enjoy the pleasure that power brings, for a long, long time. For instance, wealth that rivals a nation, or a life of complete freedom, or watching your enemies fall one by one, while you remain unscathed, standing at the pinnacle. Ji Hung nodded, half understanding. I know that he can't fully grasp these things yet, but that's okay. The seed has been planted, and one day, it will take root and grow into an unshakable towering tree, and I am the most patient gardener, for time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. Ji Hung has grown from a frail youth into a tall and upright young man. His appearance inherited the superiority of the royal bloodline, making him exceptionally handsome, yet there is always an inescapable sense of coldness and detachment between his brows. Over these 3 years, he has been like a sponge, voraciously absorbing the knowledge I have taught him. His knowledge, under the guidance of a renowned teacher, advanced by leaps and bounds. His methods, under my teaching by words and example, also became increasingly sophisticated. He was no longer the child who needed me to teach him step by step how to check accounts or how to give gifts. Nowadays, the Ji family was managed by him in an orderly and efficient manner. Those industries that had been ruined by the side branches were revived under his management, even thriving more than before. Using the methods I taught him, he combined kindness with authority, bringing the local bullies and government clerks in the city under his control. Ji Xiuming and the old madam had long been marginalized, becoming true ornaments in the Ji household. As for me, I transformed from a vicious stepmother into a Madam Ji whom everyone respected and feared. No one knows what kind of demon lies beneath the gentle and refined exterior of Madam Ji. No one knows that the eldest son of the Ji family, who appears so warm and talented in public, privately discusses with me how to use a small accident to completely bankrupt a competitor's shipping business. We are like the most tacit partners, and also the most dangerous accomplices. The day of the provincial examination is drawing near. That evening, Ji Hung came to see me. The provincial examination is the day after tomorrow. He stood before me, his expression somewhat complicated. Are you ready? I asked. He paused, then added, I hear that this time, the chief examiner is Magistrate Chen. He is upright and incorruptible, and most detests those who seek advantage through cunning means. I smiled. What are you worried about? Worried that the gifts you've given and the people you've courted in the past might displease this Magistrate Chen. Ji Heng remained silent, which was tantamount to a tacit acknowledgement. I walked over to him and straightened his collar. Heng, you still haven't mastered it, I sighed. What I taught you wasn't to take shortcuts, but to be able to handle any situation with ease under any rules. For upright officials like Censor Chen, offering gold and silver treasures naturally won't impress him. But what if it's an authentic calligraphy piece by Wang Shiji, the great master of the previous dynasty he admires most? Ji Heng suddenly looked up at me. How did you know? I not only know he admires Wang Shiji, but I also know he has spent 5 whole years searching for a copy of Clear Sky After Snowfall. I smiled faintly. And the genuine masterpiece is stored in our family's treasury. Your father bought it at a high price years ago to flaunt our status. I took out the priceless calligraphy scroll from a box. Tomorrow, you must personally visit Imperial Censor Chen. Don't mention the exam, just say you happened to acquire this scroll and, knowing he shares the same passion, came specifically to seek his appraisal. If he accepts, your position as the top candidate in the rural examination is secured. If he doesn't accept, it's fine too. Your courtesy is impeccable, and he will only see you as a respectful and virtuous junior, greatly increasing his impression of you. Either way, you come out ahead. I stuffed the calligraphy copy into his hand. Remember, the ultimate goal of giving gifts is to cater to the recipient's preferences, to provide timely help, to touch their heart in a way that makes it impossible for them to refuse. And even after accepting, they should feel grateful to you. Ji Heng looked at the calligraphy copy in his hand and remained silent for a long time. Finally, he bowed deeply to me. Mother, I understand now. He called me mother, not the way he used to, with resentment and wariness, but from the heart. With a hint of reverence and trust, I was taken aback for a second, then smiled. This mother, I had waited for 3 years. 5. The outcome of the provincial examination was entirely predictable. Ji Heng achieved the top rank as the provincial scholar. Censor Chen praised Ji Heng's essays on multiple occasions, describing him as possessing the talent to govern the world. No one knew that behind this success lay the contribution of the Clear Sky After Snowfall calligraphy scroll. Ji Heng's name spread throughout the entire Jiangnan region in an instant. Countless invitations flew into the Ji household like snowflakes, some to offer congratulations, some to seek connections, and many hoping to marry their daughters to him. I rejected them all. It's not the right time yet, I said to Ji Heng. Your path lies in the capital, not in this small corner of Jiangnan. In the spring of the following year, we set off for the capital to take the imperial examination. Before leaving, my nominal husband, Ji Xiuming, held my hand with tears streaming down his face. Madam, you and Heng are truly the treasures of our Ji family. How could I, Ji Xiuming, ever deserve such fortune? I smiled as I listened to his nonsense, then asked directly, is the silver ready? Ji Xiuming was taken aback, then quickly bowed and handed over a heavy money pouch. The expenses for the journey to the capital for the imperial exams, along with the bribes for connections, were astronomical figures. The Ji family of today is no longer the hollow shell it was 3 years ago. The few business deals I had Ji Heng handle all made a fortune. Our trip to the capital was not just for the exams, but also for investment. The capital, where the emperor resides, is the center of power. Every official and every noble family here could become a future ally or adversary for Ji Heng. Upon arriving in the capital, I had Ji Heng take my name card to visit the Grand Preceptor's residence, that is, my maiden home. My Grand Preceptor father, who had married off his concubine-born daughter to the Jiangnan region, had treated me as nothing more than a disposable pawn. Now, I have returned with a promising stepson. And their attitude, as one can imagine, is quite telling indeed. The Grand Preceptor's estate barely acknowledged me as a married daughter, but treated the top scholar, Ji Heng, with great courtesy. My stepmother, with a fake smile, held Ji Heng's hand, asking about his well-being. her words hinting at wanting to marry her own niece to him. Ji Yu-hung handled the situation perfectly, neither agreeing nor refusing, leaving them hanging that night. He asked me, "Why bother with these sycophants?" "Because they are useful," I took a sip of tea and said calmly. "The Grand Tutor is the chief minister of the court, with his disciples and former officials spread throughout the court and the country. With this connection, you can avoid a lot of trouble in the capital. As for your marriage, it is an important political investment. Who you marry, and who you don't, all involve exchanges of interests behind the scenes. For now, you just need to make them feel that they have a chance, that they can be used by you. Once your wings are strong enough, who you want to marry will be entirely up to you, won't it?" Ji Yu-hung nodded thoughtfully. Before the metropolitan examination, the capital city was filled with undercurrents. Examinees from all walks of life displayed their various skills. Some buried themselves in intense study, others sought connections everywhere, and some attempted to bribe officials. I told Ji Yu-hung not to do anything, just to focus on studying in peace, because I had already investigated thoroughly that the chief examiner for this imperial examination was the emperor's teacher, imperial tutor Zhong Juzheng. This grand secretary Zhong is an even more stubborn rock than Censor Chen, impervious to all influence. Anyone trying to take shortcuts would be condemned to eternal damnation by him. The best way to deal with such a person is to let one's abilities speak for themselves. Sure enough, when the imperial examination results were announced, Ji Yu-hung's name was prominently listed, ranking first at the top. Hu Yuan, first place in the provincial examination, successfully passed 2 levels of the imperial examinations. The entire capital was in an uproar. Everyone knew that as long as nothing unexpected happened, this year's Zhuangyuan, number 1 scholar, would undoubtedly be Ji Yu-hung. Next came the palace examination, which would determine the final fate. On the eve of the palace examination, I called Ji Yu-hung to my room. I didn't discuss current policies or theories with him, nor did I ask him to recite the classics. I only asked him one question. "Hunger, do you know what the current emperor cares about most?" Ji Yu-hung pondered for a moment before replying, "Is it the northern barbarians, or the southern floods?" I shook my head. "Neither." I looked at him and said, word by word, "What he cares about most is whether the dragon throne beneath him is stable. The emperor is suspicious, especially wary of generals who hold military power. The protagonist in the book, the young general, was able to defeat you not because he was stronger than you, but because he knew how to show weakness in front of the emperor and was willing to relinquish his military authority in exchange for the emperor's trust. And you," I pointed at him, "you are too sharp and ambitious. Winning twice in a row, achieving success at a young age. In the emperor's eyes, this may not be a good thing." Ji Yu-hung's expression darkened. "Then what should I do? Hide your talents," I said. "During the palace examination, you must not perform too well, nor too poorly. Your policy essay should be elegantly written, but your viewpoints should be moderate. Do not propose any radical reform plans, as that would make the emperor feel you are difficult to control. At the end of your essay, express your boundless reverence for His Majesty. Make him feel that all your talents are willing to be used for his sake. You must let him see your abilities, but more importantly, let him see your loyalty. The position of top scholar is too conspicuous. We don't want it. What we want is a ranking that will allow you to enter the Hanlin Academy without making you a target for everyone. Second place or third place is the best choice." A hint of struggle flashed in Ji Yu-hung's eyes. I knew that for someone as proud as him, giving up the easily attainable title of number 1 scholar was a torment, but I had to make him understand, the tallest tree in the forest is the first to be struck by the wind. Sometimes taking a step back is for the sake of being able to take 100 steps forward in the future. I patted his hand. "Trust me." In the end, he nodded. On the day of the palace examination, in the Hall of Golden Chimes, the emperor personally conducted the questioning. Ji Yu-hung's performance perfectly executed my plan. He neither showed off nor revealed his full capabilities, yet everywhere he displayed wit and talent. In the end, the emperor, with a stroke of his pen, designated him as the 3rd ranked scholar in the first class, the Tanhua. When the news arrived, many people felt regret for Ji Yu-hung. Only I and Ji Hung himself knew that this was actually the best beginning. 6. As the Tanhua, he was appointed as a compiler in the Hanlin Academy. This is a prestigious position with little real power, but it serves as a cradle for future cabinet ministers. Ji Hung officially entered the political arena. Life in the capital is 100 times more complex than in the south. This is the epicenter of power, where every step must be taken with great caution. The Grand Preceptor's residents grew much colder in their attitude when they realized Ji Hung was merely a third-place Tanhua, not the top scholar, Zhuang Yuan. That stepmother also stopped mentioning the marriage proposal. I'm enjoying the peace and quiet. Ji Hung's days in the Hanlin Academy were not easy. Most of his colleagues were from noble families, looking down on others, and they openly and covertly ostracized Ji Hung, this peasant from Jiangnan with no backing. They made him do the most menial tasks, sorting through old documents, copying papers, taking credit for any achievements, and letting him take the blame for any mistakes. Ji Hung almost lost his temper several times, but I stopped him each time. What's the rush? As I leisurely munched on melon seeds, I told him, this is a good thing. A good thing. Ji Hung frowned. Of course. I spat out the melon seed shell. They see you as an easy target, which is why they let their guard down around you. What you need to do now isn't to compete with them for short-term gains, but to perfect the most tedious tasks you have on hand. What is the Hanlin Academy? It's the archives of the great Zhou dynasty. Those old documents hold countless secrets, the promotions and demotions of officials, the rise and fall of families, even the hidden affairs of the imperial family. Keep all of this in mind, categorize it, and build your own database. One day, this seemingly useless information will become your most lethal weapon. As for those people, I sneered, let them gloat for now. The higher they jump, the harder they'll fall. We have plenty of time to play this game slowly. Ji Hung calmed down after hearing my words. He stopped complaining and no longer argued with others. Like a giant crocodile lurking in deep waters, he waited silently and patiently for the right moment to strike. He went through all the archives of the Hanlin Academy, memorizing the history of the Zhou dynasty spanning 100 years, as well as the backgrounds of various officials. His patience and talent gradually caught the attention of some observant individuals. One of them was the 7th prince of the current dynasty, also the most neglected idle prince, Li Xian. Li Xian was a prince with no grand ambitions, spending his days immersed in poetry, wine, calligraphy, and painting, which somehow aligned with Ji Hung's interests. The two of them often discussed academic matters together and gradually became friends. I told Ji Hung, you can form a deep friendship, but don't take sides. Now that the position of the crown prince is undecided, the princes are fighting to the death, our foundation is still unstable, and rashly taking sides will only make us cannon fodder. This 7th prince, who appears to be indifferent to worldly affairs, is actually the safest person to associate with. Remember, before the situation becomes clear, the best strategy is to avoid offending anyone and keep a certain distance from everyone. Ji Hung agreed wholeheartedly. The turning point came at an unexpected moment. The emperor wanted to compile a history of the previous dynasty, and the Hanlin Academy was tasked with organizing the materials. This was a massive and tedious project, and no one wanted to take on this arduous task. Finally, this mess naturally fell into Ji Hung's lap. His colleagues were all waiting to see him make a fool of himself. They didn't know that this was exactly the opportunity Ji Hung and I had been waiting for. Ji Hung spent an entire month meticulously organizing the mountain of documents and, using the modern library management methods I taught him, created an index. Not only that, but he also discovered a shocking secret from an inconspicuous miscellany. At the time of the emperor's ascension to the throne, there was once a distinguished prince with numerous military exploits who was executed along with his entire family on charges of treason. However, the evidence Ji Hung found seemed to suggest that it was a wrongful conviction. The true traitor was someone else, and that person is the grandfather of the current crown prince, the powerful Duke of Zhun. When Ji Hung told me this discovery, my hand trembled slightly. I knew that our opportunity had arrived. 7. This discovery must not be acted upon. For now, I calmed down and said to Ji Hung, why? Ji Hung was puzzled. this is the best chance to overthrow the crown prince. No, I shook my head, it's not the right time yet. The crown prince has deep roots, and the Duke of Zhengguo holds military power. A single piece of evidence from a miscellaneous record won't be enough to move them. If we report it rashly, we'll only alert them and put ourselves in danger. I looked at him, my eyes sharp. This bomb, we need to hold on to it and throw it out at the most critical moment. When is the critical moment? When someone needs this bomb. I smiled mysteriously. Although Ji Yu Heng didn't fully understand, he chose to trust me. He carefully hid that piece of evidence, then presented the meticulously organized historical records to the emperor. The emperor, seeing the clearly organized materials with detailed indexes, was greatly pleased. When he learned that all this was the work of Ji Yu Heng alone, he praised him even more. Ji Yu Heng, I remember you, the third-place scholar of this year. The emperor looked at Ji Yu Heng with appreciation in his eyes. Young and hardworking, very good. The Grand Secretary of the Hanlin Academy, who was Ji Yu Heng's direct superior, quickly took credit for the achievement. Ji Yu Heng, following what I had taught him in advance, replied without arrogance or servility, "This is all due to your Majesty's great fortune, and I have merely done my duty." With one sentence, he flattered the emperor while maintaining his own humility. The emperor was increasingly pleased and immediately ordered Ji Yu Heng to take full charge of the compilation of historical records, promoting him to the position of Hanlin Academy lecturer and elevating his official rank by 2 levels. All those colleagues who had once ostracized Ji Yu Heng were left dumbfounded. They never expected that the person they saw as an easy target had quietly climbed above them. From that day on, no one dared to underestimate Ji Yu Heng again. Ji Yu Heng's position in the Hanlin Academy was solidified, and I began paving the way for our next step. Using the wealth I had accumulated over the years, I opened the most luxurious restaurant in the capital, named Tianxialu. Tianxialu was not only known for its innovative dishes and excellent service, but more importantly, it became a hub for information exchange. I recruited a group of quick-witted employees and a versatile manager. The nobles and officials of the capital, both civil and military, all enjoy hosting banquets here. After 3 rounds of drinks and 5 courses of dishes, many confidential news items spread unintentionally. I had Ji Yu Heng invite the 7th Prince Li Xian to the Tianxia Tower. Li Xian highly praised my management skills. I accidentally let slip some unfavorable rumors about the Crown Prince and the Duke of Zhen. For instance, how the Duke of Zhen's son tyrannized the capital, forcibly abducting women, or how the Crown Prince indulged in extravagance and favored wicked advisors in the Eastern Palace. These messages, some true and some false, all scratched the emperor right where he itched. Li Xian was a clever man. He understood my hint. He began to inadvertently mention these matters in front of the emperor. Once, twice, the emperor might not believe it, but after mentioning it often, the seeds of suspicion were sown in his heart. The emperor began to secretly send people to investigate the Crown Prince and the Duke of Zhengguo, and I, through the intelligence network of the Tianxia Tower, delivered one just right piece of evidence after another into the hands of the emperor's spies. Everything was proceeding according to my plan, methodically and without a hitch. Just as the Crown Prince and the Duke of Zhengguo were being driven to distraction by the emperor's suspicions, an unexpected figure appeared in the capital. The male protagonist of the original book, the dashing and noble young general, Lin Zhao. He was ordered to escort the northern barbarian delegation to the capital, and having achieved great merit at the border, he was conferred the title of Mighty General. Enjoying unparalleled prestige for a time, I knew that Ji Yu Heng's true rival had arrived. Lin Zhao was like a stubborn, stinking rock. He was incorruptible, upright, courageous, and possessed almost all the virtues traditionally esteemed in the book. He is the embodiment of justice, the natural nemesis of Ji Yu Heng's evil forces. Sure enough, shortly after Lin Zhao arrived in the capital, he clashed with the Crown Prince's faction. The incident began when the youngest son of the Duke of Zhengguo, a notorious playboy, rode his horse recklessly through the streets and injured a commoner. Lin Zhao, who happened to be passing by, wasted no time and immediately apprehended the young man, delivering him to the capital prefecture. When the Duke of Zhengguo's people went to demand the release, Lin Zhao rebuffed them with the phrase, "Even a prince who breaks the law is no different from a commoner." The matter escalated significantly, eventually reaching the emperor. Naturally, the crown prince's faction fought desperately to protect their man. Meanwhile, the other princes were more than happy to watch the spectacle and take the opportunity to undermine the crown prince in the court. It was a chaotic mess. Ji Yu-hung watched coldly from the sidelines. When he returned in the evening, he asked me, "What should we do?" "Do nothing," I said, "let them fight like dogs." But Lin Zhao, a flicker of battle intent, barely noticeable, flashed in Ji Yu-hung's eyes. "This person is not simple, I know." I nodded. "He is a sharp blade, but for now, that blade is in someone else's hands. What we need to do is wait for him to be alone." The final outcome of this matter was a compromise from both sides to appease the Duke of Zhun. The emperor merely punished his son with 3 months' salary deduction and 6 months of house arrest. To commend Lin Zhao for his integrity and impartiality, he was rewarded with a considerable amount of gold and silver. On the surface, everyone seemed satisfied, but it was clear to all that Lin Zhao and the Crown Prince's faction had now formed a lasting grudge, and Lin Zhao, because of this matter, was regarded as a fellow by many upright and outspoken officials. He became a new and formidable force in the court. One day, the 7th prince, Li Xian, came to find Ji Yu-hung. He brought a piece of news: the Minister of Revenue was investigated for corruption, leaving the position vacant. This is a lucrative and crucial position. Several factions in the court have set their sights on this position, fighting fiercely over it. Li Xian's intention is to hope that Ji Yu-hung can lend him a hand, helping his own person secure this position. In return, he would fully support Ji Yu-hung in entering the cabinet. This was a huge temptation. Ji Yu-hung was somewhat tempted, but I said to him, "Refuse him." "Why?" Ji Yu-hung was puzzled. "This is our best chance to enter the core of power." "Have you forgotten what I said? Don't take sides lightly." I looked at him, my expression serious. The current situation is like a game of chess, with several forces evenly matched. Once we take sides, we'll become a thorn in the other side's flesh. Moreover, the position of Minister of Revenue is a hot seat right now. Whoever takes it will have to face a massive mess, an empty treasury. In recent years, with both war and natural disasters, the national treasury has long been severely depleted. Whoever takes on the role of Minister of Revenue is essentially picking up a hot potato. If they do well, it's expected. If they do poorly, they'll bear the blame and might even become the scapegoat for the emperor's anger. So, what we need to do is not fight for this position, but hand it over to our enemies. Ji Yu-hung's eyes suddenly lit up. "You mean?" I smiled slightly. "Hasn't the crown prince always wanted to place his own people? Let's help him with that." 9. In the following days, Ji Yu-hung became unusually active in the court, taking advantage of his role in compiling historical records. He frequently cited classics and precedents before the emperor, elaborating on the importance of the Ministry of Revenue and the qualifications and prestige that the new minister must possess. Although he never explicitly stated his support for anyone, his words consistently pointed to the crown prince's uncle, imperial uncle Li Wei. Li Wei was a greedy and foolish man, with no redeeming qualities other than being the crown prince's uncle. The emperor was initially quite indifferent to him, but he couldn't resist the constant persuasion from the crown prince faction. Moreover, Ji Yu-hung, the neutral scholar of integrity, also provided a professional perspective to argue for Li Wei's suitability. The emperor was swayed by their arguments. He felt that having Li Wei, someone he trusted, manage the treasury was much more reassuring than letting those he didn't trust, who were associated with the imperial princes, handle it. Thus, amidst a chorus of objections, the emperor overruled everyone and appointed Li Wei as the new Minister of Revenue. Upon hearing the news, the crown prince faction celebrated jubilantly. Prince Li Xian, however, was so furious that he nearly smashed his cup. He confronted Ji Yu-hung, demanding to know why he had betrayed him. Ji Yu-hung, following the script I had taught him, explained with an innocent expression, "Your Highness, please calm down. I am merely discussing the matter objectively and am not biased towards anyone. Although the Marquis Guo is mediocre in talent, He is a royal relative and can maintain order. In extraordinary times, extraordinary measures must be taken. His words were impeccably polished, and although Li Xian was angry, he couldn't find any fault in them. Only Ji Yu Heng and I knew that the real drama was just beginning upon taking office. Li Wei indeed lived up to expectations. Turning the Ministry of Revenue into a complete mess, he extensively installed his own cronies and eliminated dissidents to address the issue of the empty national treasury. His solution was simple and brutal. Raising taxes for a time, complaints and grievances were heard throughout the land. Meanwhile, I had the storytellers from Tianxia Pavilion turn these events into anecdotes, spreading them through every street and alley of the capital. Tales like the imperial uncle scrapes the land bare, leaving the people in misery, and the Eastern Palace revels night after night, while the national treasury empties day by day. Public resentment was stirred to its peak. Even the officials who had originally supported the crown prince began to waver. At this moment, Lin Zhao stepped forward. He co-signed a memorial with dozens of censors, a lengthy document of several thousand words, enumerating 10 major offenses of the Empress Dowager's brother, Li Wei, and directly targeting the crown prince behind him. This memorial was like a heavy bomb, causing an uproar in the court. Naturally, the crown prince's faction launched a full-scale counterattack, accusing Lin Zhao of slander, spreading alarmist rhetoric, and being a troublemaker sent by other princes in the court hall. The arguments once again became heated. The emperor was overwhelmed by the noise and couldn't make a decision for the moment. He knew Li Wei was no good, but Li Wei was, after all, the uncle of the crown prince. Punishing him would be like slapping the crown prince in the face, and the crown prince was the heir he had personally appointed. At this moment of high tension, Ji Yu Heng submitted his memorial. His memorial was not long, but its weight far surpassed Lin Zhao's lengthy petition, for it was accompanied by a detailed account. This account documented every irregular expenditure of the Ministry of Revenue since Li Wei's appointment, every unreasonable tax, and every tale of silver that flowed into the Eastern Palace. All of this evidence was gathered bit by bit through the intelligence network of Changxialu, and then meticulously organized by Ji Yu Heng, who is highly skilled in accounting. The evidence is irrefutable and undeniable. 10. A deathly silence fell over the Golden Luan Hall. Everyone's gaze was fixed on Ji Yu Heng. This young man, who had always been taciturn in court, had now become the focal point that determined the direction of the storm. The emperor's face turned ashen as he looked over the accounts, his hand gripping the red brush, veins bulging. He could tolerate his minister's greed and the crown prince's stupidity, but he would never tolerate being treated like a fool. The crown prince knelt below, his face ashen, trembling like a sieve. Minister Li Wei, the imperial uncle, collapsed directly to the ground, losing control of his bowels and bladder. Ji Yu Heng, the emperor's voice was ice-cold, devoid of any warmth. Are you certain that this account is accurate? Returning to your majesty. Ji Yu Heng bowed, his voice not loud but clearly audible throughout the entire hall. I pledge my head as guarantee that every word is true. The emperor closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his gaze was filled with overwhelming fury. Guards, drag Li Wei away and throw him into the imperial prison for a thorough investigation. All those involved must be severely punished without leniency. Your Highness, the crown prince. The emperor looked at his incompetent son, a flicker of disappointment and weariness flashing in his eyes. Confined to the Eastern Palace for self-reflection, without my decree, you are not to take a single step outside. A tumultuous storm in the imperial court came to an end with Ji Yu Heng's seemingly insignificant account book. The uncle of the emperor, Li Wei, was ultimately sentenced to immediate execution. The crown prince faction crumbled, and dozens of officials were implicated and imprisoned. Although the crown prince's position as crown prince was not officially abolished, it was merely a nominal title, and Ji Yu Heng, due to his meritorious service in exposing the truth, along with his previous contributions in compiling historical records, was promoted by the emperor to the position of Assistant Minister of Revenue, assisting in the affairs of the Ministry of Revenue. He had finally transitioned from a prestigious but relatively powerless position as a Hanlin academician to the very heart of real political power. More importantly, he used this incident to prove his worth to everyone. He was not a mere appendage to anyone. He himself was a force powerful enough to change the course of events. Prince Li Xian, the seventh imperial son, extended an olive branch to Ji Yu Heng once again, with an attitude even more sincere than before, and Lin Zhao also developed a liking for Ji Yu Heng, this fearless of authority colleague, inviting him to his residence several times for a chat. Ji Yu Heng, following my advice, maintained a respectful but not overly familiar distance with both sides. He now had his own leverage and no longer needed to rely on anyone. With the crown prince overthrown, a power vacuum emerged in the court. The remaining princes fought even more fiercely to seize this vacuum. The capital had completely transformed into a massive battlefield. Meanwhile, Ji Yu Heng and I remained hidden at the center of the storm, watching coldly as they fought to the death for that supreme position. I asked Ji Yu Heng, "Now, do you still want to rebel?" He stood by the window, gazing at the turbulent sky outside, and after a long while, he shook his head. He turned around, looked at me, and a faint, slightly mischievous smile curved his lips. Mother was right. Playing with power is far more interesting than wielding swords and guns. I looked at him, as if seeing a future power broker rising before my eyes. No, perhaps not just a power broker, a larger, more audacious plan slowly took shape in my mind. 11. After Ji Yu Heng became the Deputy Minister of Revenue, the first challenge he faced was how to fill the enormous deficit in the national treasury. This is a deadlock. Increasing taxes would incite public unrest. Without raising taxes, the state machinery would cease to function. In the imperial court, debates on this issue raged for over half a month, yet no consensus was reached. The emperor threw this difficult problem to Ji Yu Heng. Everyone was waiting to see him make a fool of himself. Everyone thought that although this young man was a bit clever, he was bound to stumble when it came to such important matters of state. Ji Yu Heng shut himself in his study for 3 days and 3 nights. On the 4th day, he came to me with a proposal. The title of the proposal was quite strange, called The Strategy for State Monopoly and Salt and Iron Monopoly Reform. I took a look and laughed. Not bad. You already know how to use state monopoly to reap the benefits. Ji Yu Heng's plan had a simple core idea: nationalize all profitable businesses, such as salt, iron, tea, and alcohol, and have the imperial court operate and sell them uniformly. This would not only ensure the state's fiscal revenue but also prevent merchants from hoarding goods and disrupting the market. In modern times, this is a commonplace economic measure, but at the time, it was a groundbreaking and unprecedented initiative. This method is feasible. I nodded, then pointed out a few issues. But have you thought about whose interests this would affect? Ji Yu Heng said in a deep voice. Salt merchants, iron merchants, and the powerful families entangled behind them. Exactly, I said. Cutting off someone's financial path is like killing their parents. Once this policy is implemented, you will inevitably face their crazy counterattacks. By then, the opponents you face will not just be political rivals in the court. What should we do then? What should we do? I smiled. Of course, find someone to take the blame. Oh no, I mean find a like-minded ally to work together on this. Who? Lin Zhao. Ji Yu Heng was stunned. Lin Zhao, will he agree? He will, I said confidently, because this policy of yours, on the surface, is a great benefit to the country and its people. It targets unscrupulous merchants, increases national revenue, and stabilizes prices. This completely aligns with Lin Zhao's political ideals. Go talk to him, and package this policy as a reform for the sake of all living beings. Idealists like him are most susceptible to this approach. We need to use his reputation as a clean official to counter the resistance from the powerful clans, and he needs you, as the Vice Minister of Revenue, to provide support at the policy implementation level. You two, one plays the good cop, the other the bad cop. He takes the lead, charging forward and rallying support. You handle the specific tasks behind the scenes, and incidentally, firmly grasp the benefits brought by the reforms for yourself. Ji Yu Heng's eyes grew brighter and brighter. He understood what I meant. This is a move of using one's blade to kill and also a move of driving the tiger to devour the wolf. Use Lin Jiao as the sharpest blade to cut through the toughest bones. Whether we succeed or fail, it benefits us either way. If we succeed, we gain both fame and fortune. If we fail, there's still Lin Jiao, the reckless one, to take the fall. Mother, Ji Yu Heng looked at me, his eyes filled with admiration. You really are, he thought for a long time before coming up with a word, a genius. I gladly accepted the compliment. 12. Ji Yu Heng went to find Lin Jiao. The process was even smoother than I had imagined. When Ji Yu Heng laid out his grand plan for reform, Lin Jiao's eyes lit up. He excitedly grasped Ji Yu Heng's hand, exclaiming, "For the country and the people, I would not hesitate even in the face of death," and immediately expressed his willingness to share the same path and ideals with Ji Yu Heng, working together to promote this great reform. Looking at Lin Jiao's face, illuminated by the glow of idealism, Ji Yu Heng almost couldn't hold back his laughter. Soon, a salt and iron reform, led by Lin Jiao and supported by Ji Yu Heng from behind, began to unfold in the imperial court as expected. As soon as the policy was proposed, it faced fierce opposition from conservative officials, represented by the major aristocratic families. They pinned the labels of competing with the people for profit and disrupting the nation's foundation on Lin Jiao and Ji Yu Heng in an instant. Impeachment memorials flew like snowflakes towards the emperor's desk, but this time, the emperor unexpectedly stood on the side of Lin Jiao and Ji Yu Heng. The reason is simple: he was out of money. The empty treasury made his reign as emperor anything but enjoyable. Now that someone is willing to go get the money for him, why wouldn't he be happy about it? With the emperor's support, the reform began to be implemented with great difficulty. Lin Jiao fully demonstrated his reckless nature. Like a warrior, he engaged in fierce debates with the scholars in the court, single-handedly confronting the entire conservative faction. His reputation reached its peak among the intellectuals and the common people. Everyone praised him as the iron-willed censor and the pillar of the nation. However, Ji Yu Heng was very low-key. He never participated in debates in the court, merely handling specific matters related to the reforms quietly. He established a dedicated salt and iron commission, recruiting talents proficient in mathematics and management. He formulated detailed monopoly procedures, from production to transportation and then to sales, arranging every step clearly and systematically. He even introduced the concept of shareholding, allowing some imperial merchants to invest in the Salt and Iron Commission and share profits, thereby dividing and winning over the merchant class. All of this was taught by me. I adapted a set of modern enterprise management practices, slightly modifying them to become his invincible weapon. The effect of the reform was remarkable. In just half a year, the revenue of the national treasury doubled. The emperor, seeing the piles of silver, couldn't stop smiling, and on multiple occasions in the court, he specifically praised Lin Jiao and Ji Yu Heng. Lin Jiao reaped fame, the emperor reaped wealth. But what about Ji Yu Heng? What he gained was real power. The newly established Salt and Iron administration, from top to bottom, is filled with his people. The nationwide network of salt and iron monopolies is firmly controlled by him. This is not merely a tool for accumulating wealth, it is also a nationwide intelligence network and a network of relationships that can be mobilized at any time. He has already transformed from a simple civil official into a powerful minister who holds the economic lifeline in his hands. And all of this was accomplished quietly under the cover of Lin Jiao's righteous halo. Lin Jiao still regards Ji Yu Heng as a comrade in arms who shares the same ideals. He does not know that, from beginning to end, he has merely been a pawn, a chess piece, the most useful one. 13. After the reform succeeded, Ji Yu Heng's reputation reached a new height. He was no longer the Hanlin compiler who needed to rely on others, but a rising star in the court that no one could ignore. The emperor relied on him more and more. The princes vying for the throne have also been working even harder to show their goodwill toward him. Even my father, the grand tutor, shamelessly sent someone with lavish gifts, once again bringing up the matter of marriage alliance. I had Ji Yu Heng accept the gifts, but the marriage proposal was still put off. Now, we have even greater ambitions. A mere granddaughter of a grand counselor is no longer worthy of my son. That day, I was in the private room of Qianxia Tower, listening to The shopkeeper report the latest intelligence when an unexpected person pushed the door open. It was the seventh prince, Li Xian. He dismissed his attendants, and behind the screen, only the two of us remained. Madam, what a brilliant move. Li Xian got straight to the point, his gaze sharp as he looked at me. With a single salt and iron reform, you used Lin Zhao's name to take control of the nation's treasury. Minister Ji Yu, this move of yours is truly masterful. I picked up the teacup, gently blew on the steam, and remained silent. I knew that he had come today not to praise me. Let's speak plainly, Li Xian said. The crown prince has been deposed, and my brothers are locked in a fierce struggle. As the emperor grows older, it remains uncertain who will ultimately inherit the throne of the great Zhu. He paused, looked at me, and said word by word, I want to fight for it. I set down my teacup and smiled. Your Highness, are you telling me this because you want Ji Yu Heng to lend you a hand? Yes. Li Xian made no attempt to hide his ambition. I know that Lord Ji Yu listens to his wife. As long as you agree, Lord Ji Yu won't be a problem. I need money, people, and support in the court, and all of these, Lord Ji Yu, or rather, you, madam, can provide me. Once the matter is settled, I promise that Lord Ji Yu will become the Chief Grand Secretary, second only to one, above 10,000 others, and you, madam, will be the first-rank titled lady of the court, enjoying unparalleled glory. The terms he offered were very tempting. Anyone else might have been swayed, but I just smiled. Your Highness, I looked at him and slowly began. Chief Grand Secretary of the Cabinet, first-rank Lady of Honor, it sounds impressive. But, have you ever considered that there might be a better choice? Li Xian froze. What do you mean? I stood up, walked over to him, lowered my voice, and uttered a sentence that made his expression change drastically. Why assist someone else in becoming an emperor when you could let Ji Yu Heng take the throne himself? 14. Li Xian's face turned ashen in an instant. He sprang to his feet, looking at me in terror, as if staring at a madman. You've gone mad. If this gets out, it's a crime punishable by the extermination of 9 clans. What is your Highness afraid of? I sat down leisurely, gesturing for him to sit as well. There are no outsiders here. Li Xian sat down stiffly, his body still trembling slightly. Ji Yu Heng, he is surnamed Ji Yu. Not Li. Does it really matter? I retorted. The founding emperor of the previous dynasty was also a cowherd, wasn't he? Are nobles and generals born with their status? I looked at him and began to drop my heavy bombshell. Your Highness, what do you think Ji Yu Heng's true identity is? Li Xian was taken aback. I said softly, aren't you curious how a merchant family from Jiangnan would adopt a child? And it just so happens to be the one the current emperor has specifically asked to take care of. Li Xian's breathing quickened. He wasn't a fool. He had thought of a certain possibility. He is, exactly. I said it for him. He is the former crown prince, the only surviving bloodline. This secret was told to me by Ji Yu Heng. It was also his greatest leverage for the rebellion. Now, I've turned it into our biggest bargaining chip in negotiations. Li Xian was completely stunned. It took him a long time to find his voice, and he said with difficulty, even if that's the case, so what? The previous dynasty is gone, and people want stability. To think that a mere title could change the course of history is no different from a madman's dream. Of course, it's not just about a title. I smiled. Still need proof. Your Highness. Me. Yes, I nodded. Your Highness, although you are a prince, you have no advantage. In terms of being the legitimate eldest son, you cannot compare to the crown prince. In terms of maternal clan influence, you cannot compare to the third prince. In terms of military achievements, you cannot compare to the fifth prince. If you want to ascend to that position, you can only take a risky move, and we are your greatest opportunity. My voice was full of temptation. Think about it. If we cooperate, you are in the open, we are in the shadows. You use your status as a prince to develop your influence in the court. We, on the other hand, will use Ji Yu Heng's identity and the wealth in our hands to secretly contact the remnants of the previous dynasty, recruit soldiers, and gather horses. When the time is ripe, you will launch a coup in the palace, clear the court of corrupt officials, and eliminate the treacherous. We, outside the city, will raise troops in response under the banner of restoring the legitimate rule. at that time, the world will be ours. I looked at him and threw out the final bait. After the deed is done, the empire can be divided and ruled. You will be the king of the north, and Ji Hung will be the emperor of the south. We will govern by the river, with no encroachment on each other. It is far better than your current situation, living in constant fear, never knowing when you might become someone else's prey on the chopping block. Li Xian's eyes contracted sharply. I knew he was tempted. No prince could resist the temptation of the throne, nor can any loser resist the chance for a comeback. I need time to think, he said hoarsely. Of course. I stood up. Your Highness can take your time to consider. However, opportunities do not wait for anyone. I opened the door and saw him off, watching his despondent figure retreat. I knew that this fish had already taken the bait I cast, the deadliest, yet sweetest lure. Ji Hung is going to become the emperor. This is a thought that has just sprung into my mind, wildly insane, yet incredibly thrilling. Why not go bigger now that we've come this far? Being a powerful minister or a corrupt official is ultimately living under someone else's roof, only by firmly grasping one's own destiny is it truly safe. I returned to my room, poured a glass of wine, and drank it all in one go. The passion in my chest burned like fire. After raising this son for so long, it's time to take him out and pull off something big. 15. Ji Hung was silent for a long time after he learned about my plan. He didn't show any surprise or fear, just asked me very calmly, "Mother, how certain are you?" 50%, I said. That's too low. Not low. I looked at him. For something like usurping the throne, even a 10% chance is worth the gamble. Moreover, we have a 50% chance. Our advantage lies in the fact that we are in the dark. While our enemies are in the open, they are still fighting each other for that throne, never realizing that the real threat comes from where they cannot see. Li Xian will be our best shield. He will draw all the fire for us. And what you need to do is keep climbing. The higher you climb, the greater your power, and the better our chances of winning. Ji Hung nodded, his eyes igniting with the same wild flame as mine. I understand. From that day on, Ji Hung changed. If he was once a sharp sword hidden in its sheath, now he began, bit by bit, to reveal his edge. He no longer deliberately kept his distance from Lin Zhao but actively collaborated with him, leveraging Lin Zhao's immense prestige among the Qingliu to build his own reputation. He also stopped rejecting the overtures of other princes, instead playing them off against each other, skillfully exploiting their conflicts to advance his own interests. His position in the government grew ever higher, from Vice Minister of Revenue to Minister of Works, and then to Minister of Personnel in just 5 years. He entered the cabinet with his exceptional skills and political achievements, becoming the youngest cabinet minister in the history of the Great Zhou dynasty. Meanwhile, I used the financial resources of Changxilu and the Salt and Iron Department to weave a vast network for him in secret. This network enveloped the entire Great Zhou. It included loyal former officials of the previous dynasty, border generals we had bribed, spies placed in various government offices, and the martial arts factions that I had fed with money and benefits. We are like a giant spider, silently waiting for our prey to fall into the net on its own. Li Xian ultimately agreed to cooperate with us. He had no other choice. Under the joint suppression of the other princes, he was already in a precarious position. Cooperating with us is his only way out. Thus, a bizarre political alliance was formed. On the surface, Ji Hung was a trusted aide of the 7th prince, Li Xian, and a core figure of the 7th prince's faction. In secret, Li Xian was merely a pawn I pushed to the forefront. We are waiting for an opportunity that could turn the entire Great Zhou upside down. 16. The opportunity came in the 2nd year after Ji Hung entered the cabinet. The old emperor fell gravely ill. He lay on his sickbed, no longer able to handle state affairs. Yet the position of the crown prince remained undecided. Several adult princes, vying for the final right of succession, had completely torn off all pretense. In the capital, danger lurked at every turn. The 3rd prince colluded with the commander of the imperial guards in an attempt to launch a palace coup. The 5th prince secretly mobilized border troops, intending to station them near the capital to force the emperor to abdicate. The entire capital was like a massive powder keg, ready to explode at any moment. Everyone knew that a storm of bloodshed was about to descend, and it was the best opportunity one had been waiting for. "Do it," I said to Ji Yu-hung. Ji Yu-hung nodded. An invisible net tightened silently on that stormy night. The first to make a move was the third prince. He thought he had bribed the commander of the Imperial Guards and was confident of victory. What he didn't know was that the commander of the Imperial Guards had long been one of us. When he led his men into the Emperor's bedchamber, he was met by the well-prepared personal troops of the seventh prince, Li Xian. A so-called coup instantly turned into a suppression of rebellion. The third prince was captured on the spot. Early the next morning, Li Xian appeared at the morning court with the third prince, who was bound tightly. He tearfully accused the third prince of the crime of treason to the emperor lying on his sickbed, and Ji Yu-hung, as a witness, produced the secret letters exchanged between the third prince and the commander of the Imperial Guards. Of course, the letters were forged, but by this time, the truth or falsity of the matter no longer mattered. The emperor was furious and ordered the third prince to be stripped of his title and reduced to a commoner, to be imprisoned for life. The faction of the third prince was completely uprooted. Before anyone could recover from this sudden turn of events, the rebel army of the fifth prince had already arrived at the city gates. The fifth prince's banner proclaimed cleansing the court of evil ministers, accusing the seventh prince Li Xian and Ji Yu-hung of being traitors who had kidnapped the emperor and falsified decrees to disrupt the government. The capital instantly plunged into panic. In the court, panic spread among the people. Some advocated for negotiation, while others insisted on defending to the death. At this moment, Lin Zhao stepped forward. He volunteered to lead the troops out of the city to confront the rebels. "I know that this is the choice he, as a loyal minister, would inevitably make. I also know that this is the best opportunity to remove him, this stumbling block." I had Ji Yu-hung strongly advocate for Lin Zhao in the court. Moreover, with selfless impartiality, I handed over the recently reorganized capital garrison troops, originally under the third prince's command, to Lin Zhao to lead. Li Xian, also hypocritically, greatly encouraged Lin Zhao, calling him the pillar of the nation. Lin Zhao was moved to tears. He led the hastily assembled, utterly defenseless army out of the city to meet the enemy, full of passion and fervor. He believed he was going to save the country. He didn't know he was going to his death. 17. Lin Zhao's fate was a foregone conclusion. The group he led was a motley crew, while the border army of the fifth prince was a battle-hardened force of tigers and wolves. After a brief confrontation, Lin Zhao was utterly defeated. He himself was killed by an arrow from the vanguard general of the fifth prince amidst the chaos of battle. The news reached the capital, shaking the entire court. Everyone was plunged into despair. They felt that the capital city could not be held any longer. Many officials had already begun secretly preparing to open the city gates and surrender, and at this moment, Ji Yu-hung stepped forward. He was entrusted with a critical mission, appointed by the emperor as the overall commander of the capital's defense, fully responsible for the city's protection. He ascended the city tower and faced the dark mass of rebel troops below, as well as the panicked soldiers and civilians within the city, delivering a speech that would be enough to go down in history. He didn't waste words on too many impassioned nonsense. He simply told everyone what kind of slaughter their families would face once the city fell. He described how their wealth would be plundered. He used the most naked fear to ignite the survival instincts of everyone. Then, he opened the national treasury, taking out all the wealth accumulated since the reform. Part of it was used to reward the three armies. Another portion was directly distributed to the citizens guarding the city walls on the battlements. "Hold the city, and this gold is yours. If you fail to hold it, your lives will belong to others. Where there is a reward, there is a brave man." The desire to survive, combined with the stimulation of money, ignited an astonishing fighting spirit among the soldiers and civilians who had previously lost their will to fight. For the next 3 days and nights, it was an utterly brutal battle of siege and defense. The rebel forces led by the fifth prince charged towards the city walls again and again, and were repelled again and again. Beneath the walls of the capital, corpses piled up like mountains, and rivers of blood flowed. And Ji Yu-hung, always standing on the city wall, did not remove his armor. Personally beating the drum to boost morale, his tall and straight figure became a steadfast pillar in the hearts of all the defenders and civilians. Even the seventh Prince Li Xian was impressed by his spirit. Looking at Ji Yu Heng, for the first time, he genuinely felt that perhaps handing the country over to this man wouldn't be such a bad thing. On the fourth day, just as the capital's defenders were about to run out of ammunition and supplies, a turning point emerged outside the city. A large army bearing the banner of pacifying the rebellion suddenly appeared, delivering a fatal blow to the fifth prince's rebel forces from behind. The fifth prince's army, caught between two fronts, collapsed instantly. The fifth prince himself was struck down from his horse amidst the chaos of battle. The capital has been secured. When the general of that Jingnan army removed his helmet, revealing a face that bore a striking resemblance to Ji Yu Heng, everyone was stunned. He was the former dynasty's Prince of Zhennan, the last remaining member of the imperial family in the military. He walked up to Ji Yu Heng, knelt on one knee, and proclaimed loudly, "Your servant has come to rescue you. Too late. Long live the emperor. May you live 10,000 years." On the city wall, everyone was stunned. They looked at Ji Yu Heng, then at the Prince of Zhennan, their minds completely blank. Meanwhile, Ji Yu Heng slowly descended the city wall. He walked up to the Prince of Southern Town and helped him up. Then, he turned around and faced everyone within and outside the capital. His voice, though not loud, clearly reached the ears of everyone present. "The previous dynasty has passed, a new dynasty shall rise. From this day forth, I shall be the ruler of this land. The era name shall be Kaiyuan." 18 Ji Yu Heng has ascended the throne. The process was surprisingly smooth. The old emperor, upon hearing the news of the defeat of the fifth prince's army and the relief of the siege on the capital, failed to catch his breath and passed away. The seventh prince, Li Xian, was the first to step forward, proclaiming Ji Yu Heng as the new ruler. The court ministers, quick to adapt to the changing winds, also knelt down one after another, shouting, "Long live the emperor." Thus, a change of dynasty was completed in an atmosphere that was almost peaceful. There was no large-scale bloodshed, no prolonged warfare. The great Zhou dynasty had fallen. A new dynasty was born in the hands of Ji Yu Heng. I, as the mother of the new emperor, was honored as the Empress Dowager moved into the most splendid Ning Palace within the imperial palace. On the day of the coronation ceremony, I wore the elaborate ceremonial attire of the Empress Dowager, seated on the high throne, watching Ji Yu Heng, dressed in the dragon robe, step by step, ascend to the highest position of power. He received the homage of the officials, his expression indifferent, yet carrying an innate, regal dignity. In my heart, a mixture of emotions surged. I looked at him, as if seeing the teenager from 10 years ago, standing by my bed with a cup of poison in his hands, his eyes filled with malice. Who could have imagined that the child back then, who only thought of seeking revenge in the most clumsy way, would today become the ruler of this world, and I, a soul from another world, have personally created an emperor? This feeling is simply too exhilarating. After the ceremony, Ji Yu Heng dismissed everyone and went to the Ning Palace. He had already changed out of his dragon robe and was wearing casual home attire. He walked up to me, as naturally as he used to, and poured me a cup of tea. "Mother," he spoke, his voice carrying a softness I had never heard before. I responded with a sound and took the teacup. "What are your plans for the future?" he asked. "Plans?" I smiled. "What plans could an old woman like me have? I'll just stay in this palace, enjoy my remaining years, and watch you do a good job as the emperor." Ji Yu Heng looked at me, his eyes serious. "Mother, without you, there would be no me today. This empire was built by you for me. Whatever you want, I can give it to you. Power, wealth, or you could even consider ruling from behind the curtain, if you wish." Upon hearing the last sentence, I nearly spat out the tea in my mouth. "Absolutely not." I waved my hands repeatedly. "I have no interest whatsoever in dealing with those trivial memorials." I looked at him and said with heartfelt sincerity, "Heng, now you are the emperor, there is still much for you to learn: how to balance the court, how to manage your ministers, how to appease the people. All of these you must explore on your own. I have taught you all I can. The rest of the journey, you must walk alone." I paused for a moment, then added one more thing. However, there is one thing you must remember. What? I leaned close to his ear, lowering my voice to impart the final, and most crucial, piece of advice I had for him as a mother, and as his mentor in his political career. Being an emperor is fine, but never, ever be a good emperor. When the water is too clear, there are no fish. A court that is too clean will not function. What you must do is become the greatest corrupt official, seize all the wealth of the world firmly in your own hands, then, use that money to raise the strongest army, build the widest canals, and do anything you wish. As for the criticisms from the censors, treat them as nothing more than whispers in the wind. History is written by the victors, as long as you ensure the people have food to eat and clothes to wear. You will be remembered as an emperor for the ages. Ji Yuheng listened, stunned for a long time. Finally, he smiled. That smile, like the first thaw of ice and snow, carried a sense of relief and ease. Mother, I understand. He stood up, bowed deeply to me. Your subject humbly obeys the Empress's teachings. Watching his retreating figure, I knew that my mission was completely accomplished. I had successfully transformed a rebellious youth harboring hatred into a qualified, and even excellent, scheming emperor. What kind of emperor he will become, I do not know, but I know he will never become a naive fool who can be easily manipulated. That is enough. I lay on the soft couch, closed my eyes, and prepared to begin the long-awaited, idle, retired life of an empress dowager. This time traveling into a book is an absolute win. After hearing the story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.